Hello, everybody. I'm Eleanor Hayward, Holistic Eleanor. I'm here today with Aline Marie Brown, who is a fellow RMT. Well, we're both inactive RMTs, but for this conversation, our training is relevant. And she also has experience as a lifelong learner in NLP and hypnosis, as well as manufacturing production and conflict resolution in labor relations. So a very robust, full experience you have, Aline. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me to be here today. I appreciate it.
I am so grateful. So I want to highlight what we're going to speak about today for our audience. Thank you for tuning in. We want to discuss about RMT massage as a physical practice and where I am evolving in my practice to more of a holistic massage. And we met through the Love Your Vibe transformation, which is more mindset work. And we're going to be having another show around the miracle magnet zone and what mindset, how that really contributes towards health and wellness. But for today, we're going to focus on what's RMT massage and what is holistic massage, and specifically how to be empowered around your health and wellness, how to embody yourself and how to evolve as a process of healing. So what's your experience with RMT massage, Aline? What interested you in that, and what benefits does that have for your clients in the past?
Well, to begin with, it helped with ranges of motion, improving the physical body, learning how to create, as a massage therapist, helping to design something to help to improve the circulation and the movement of actually the joints, and informing your clients on ligaments and tendons, and the proper ergonomics of how to do things physically. So it was within a range of motion that was contained within standards of practice and a lot of guidelines, and you stayed within your scope of practice, because that's what the role of a registered massage therapist is. So I found that my interests lied in many other departments, so I didn't bring in those different pieces that I found very helpful in my own life. So I find the holistic piece, it's been something that I've studied for the last 40 years, and I know how helpful that those pieces have become in my own life. And I love massage therapy, and I love holistics. So putting holistic massage in the category where you can bring other techniques into practice feels like integrating many different things into one.
Integrating, that is a good word. Yes, thank you. Yes, and like massage is age old practice, I think, within communities and families, and having that physical tangible touch and manipulating tissues and stimulating circulation, both blood and lymphatic fluid, the fascial connective tissue, can put in some remedial exercise there in terms of strengthening, stretching, as you said, range of motion exercises. And we were discussing like an active versus a passive approach to wellness. And in the 20th century, massage became more medicalized, and hence the regulations, so that there's some consistency through the profession. What is massage? What isn't massage? And Reiki used to be considered under the scope of practice as long as hands were there. So Reiki being the universal life force energy, Reiki is like chi energy that flows through the body. But on a grand scale, massage doesn't often incorporate energy work. That generally falls outside of practice, like your hypnosis, for example. I guess it's more of a psychological approach too, and neuro-linguistic programming, the NLP. I've had a little bit of experience with that over the years. But to help people with their mindset is definitely outside the scope of practice
Absolutely.
of RMT. And yet I was a practicing RMT for 18 years. And we're here in Ontario, Southern Ontario, for our audience. And an active approach to massage is where you are actually using the expertise of your therapist. So you're asking them to recommend self-at-home care exercises. So what are those stretches, the range of motion, the strengthening exercises, hydration, hydrotherapy, other modalities where you go home and then you practice that care on your own. Even self-massage can be very effective. I catch myself doing that. Versus whereas more of a medicalized version is where we put the power outside of ourselves. Would you agree? You kind of go up to your doctor and you say, fix me. And I think that can be frustrating for doctors too. And there's so many components of wellness, like in terms, like again, like your physical activity, hydration, sleep, nutrition is a huge aspect of our wellness, what you're breathing. And yet as a massage, you can show up and just lie on the table and the massage therapist can massage you and share their tools, you know, being their hands to manipulate your tissue. And there's benefit to a passive massage. But I guess what we're talking about is shifting your mindset from being like just going for passive versus actually becoming more active in your wellness as being that crux between massage and the holistic massage, and recognizing that your emotional stress, your mental stress, your spiritual perspective in the world really makes a difference. How do you think about that, Lynn?
Absolutely. The issues and the tissues.
Yes.
You know, piece of how we store energy in certain parts of our body when there's, say, something that we've pushed down and we don't want to deal with it. And I find that things like tapping and certain types of, you know, breathing exercises, they help to create not only the awareness, but they help to clear the energy that's been stored and then create a new pathway to make choices that have benefits based on what your goals are and what you'd like to achieve, rather than being passive and accepting the old ways that we like to do things. Is kind of like awakening yourself to what's the possibility of what you can choose with your health. So then it comes back to, okay, then that was interesting. Now, after I left, say, a holistic session, then I'm more aware of how I'm thinking or how I'm breathing or how I'm responding to situations. So it opens up a new area of self-responsibility that's outside of the practice of you know, creating a better muscle length or greater range of motion. It's opening up the energy to all the joints to improve on a kind of like a more global level on your body. So that's the type of approach that I found I've integrated over the last 40 years, whether I was in massage therapy practice or not. These other modalities seem to help create pathways of new understandings for new ways of being. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about what you're doing.
Thank you. It's so fulfilling because, I mean, it was terrifying at first, feeling the calling of my spirit to surrender my RMT license active and become a more passive, an inactive massage therapist, which means I can go back and get my license. But at the moment, as an inactive, I can't give people an RMT receipt for their insurance reimbursement, and giving up that security in my career was, again, terrifying. But at the same time, that's what, through my 18, 20 years of practice, including education, was opening myself up to this energy work. That Reiki was a pretty consistent force through my career, and how that was a foundation to recognize that we're more than just a physical body.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody was more logical, analytical, skeptical than I was in my youth. And I'm thinking, how can anything so subtle make a difference in the body? And little did I know. But it's very experiential. So for example, earlier in my career, like people show up and they say, well, how bad is it? And it's like, well, that's a really disempowering question, because you're looking for validation, but it's framed in a negative. It's not asking, how can I maintain health? It's saying, how bad is it? And I find that, or people are saying, well, aging sucks. And we were just talking about time before our talk here backstage. And it's like, well, yeah, there's physiological changes to aging in terms of like your collagen and your hormones, and your eyes and your ears will eventually deteriorate. But the more active you are in maintaining your wellness, the better your health is, and your wellness, and your sense of unity and connection with the universe. And the anonymous adage, we were looking for a reference, but if you don't make time for wellness, you will be forced to make time for illness. And holistically, like through my career, like learning Reiki, the tapping, the EFT, acupressure tapping has been priceless in my practice. And using acupressure, so you're using the acupuncture points of the traditional Chinese meridian system, but also holding space and acknowledging our thoughts and feelings. Because I think in the medicalized mindset, we kind of think of ourselves as a machine, but really our thoughts and feelings, like the more we acknowledge them and hold space for them and not judge them and feel them and allow them, and just start to develop a framework around trauma and how do we heal that, because our medical system, like Dr. Gabor Mate is so fascinating that like we don't really fully understand trauma. He says even within the medical system that we're ignoring a huge body of evidence around trauma being the root cause of autoimmune conditions, mental health conditions, chronic health conditions, and that the world is really evolving, and massage can passively heal trauma. Like if you've been bruised, or you've had a car accident, you have a repetitive strain syndrome, you have a chronic work-related injury, that massage can help with that blood circulation and that flow. And yet, as a holistic, it's like, well, okay, well, let's take into account and let's look at the different aspects of how are you thinking? How are you feeling? How do you look at the world? And so I've been able to integrate more liberally the tapping, the Reiki, visualizations, helping people ground, asking people body awareness questions, because a lot of people are not aware of their body. And it's like, so my goal is to empower people, right? And how do you let them know that I can't fix you, right? I can share my teachings and tools with you, but it's your body that needs to figure out the barriers to recovery and help you to learn your intuition, right? And embodiment. So what does embodiment mean to you? Because that's been a really interesting, juicy topic.
Yeah, I think it's an open opportunity to explore your senses, not only the five senses, but the intuition piece that tends to, like, we tend to know all of our own answers. It's like, how do we ask ourselves the right questions? And work with someone that's skilled, as well as all of the professional pieces that you have from your history of being a massage therapist. You've been stacking so many things together, and embodiment to me is kind of like an evolving piece. It's a level of awareness where you're living from the inside out, and you're able to have an opportunity to decide from the inside, rather than having the external forces or happenings or situations on the outside create your body to passively do things. You are actually in charge of reining, say, your gut. You're listening to your body. You're aware of when some things happen, then this part of your body responds a certain way. So you're kind of, it's like your body is an antenna for helping and not blaming. It's creating opportunity to, how can I do this differently? We can't control the world outside of us, but we can embody the pieces from the inside. So this is it's can be a brand new concept if you've never tuned into your body. You may recognize that it may have started at a very young age where you felt a certain way, and that was become something that had become your normal response. So it's creating conscious awareness and being tuned in to your human physical self, your inner self. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Your body is an antenna. Absolutely. And because I've often thought of it like your body is a radio, that you transmit a signal and you receive a signal, that this is like your heartbeat essentially. And our intuition is like, what am I sensing? And yes, our five senses kind of perceive incoming information, and we can only manage so much physical information input as well. But it's like trusting that intuition and getting out of our head, because I'm a recovering overthinker. I think that's been one of my biggest pieces of evolution and embodiment over the past couple of years since the pandemic, is recognizing that I'm a recovering overthinker, that was my trauma response. And recognizing that, really tuning into, well, what does my heart have to say about the situation? What does my gut have to say about this situation? And you can't know what they're saying unless you're listening. And that takes conscious practice. And I learned recently, and I mean, it totally made sense, that we don't actually make decisions from our head. That we can analyze information and the pros and cons and the risks and the benefits in that analysis, but real decisions need to come from the body. And that's the practice of embodiment, and that cannot happen passively. Nobody can do that for you. But it needs to be an active process. So I am really enjoying working with clients these days that are open to this concept, and that they're willing to do that inner work as well as the body work, because the body work and the inner work dovetail very nicely together, and that they're being honest with themselves. Because a lot of the times the trauma reaction in our mind is, and we're conditioned by this outer world, and lies are so much easier than the truth. And being an empath, because that's my gift, that's what I bring to body work, is sensing sometimes what people are thinking and what they're feeling in terms of their patterns. I wouldn't call myself psychic in any way, but as an empath, I can sometimes sense a deeper energy around people's, even sometimes their sexual abuse. I can sense people's shame. And that's really sensitive information, and a very intimate and a very vulnerable energy. And yet to be witnessed and acknowledged in a safe space where you're not judged is incredibly cathartic. And that's where you can release that trauma and really feel validated within yourself. And yes, it's an external, like that's a bit more passive to be witnessed in that way, but to really start to witness yourself, like as you said, that conscious awareness is what we're developing, rather than judging and suppressing that energy, because that's what's going to make us sick. And that's what it's going to aggravate our relationships as well, because we're going to end up projecting that, because it's still stuck there in our unconscious minds. So all of this together, this process of healing, is really evolution.
Exactly.
So this is where, we're about as physically evolved as we're going to get, but we're still mentally, emotionally, and spiritually evolving as humans on planet Earth here. And I'm so grateful. And your big word aligned alchemy with Aline. And alchemy is a similar term for evolution, would you say?
Yeah, I would say you would describe it like that. Kind of alchemy is like encompassing energy, and yeah, I believe it would be in alignment.
I guess alchemy is like the pre-science.
Yeah.
Like, and that was like trying to make the philosopher's stone, try to make gold out of lead and that, but it means more than that. I think it is a transformation that like if you're baking, you have all of your ingredients, as you wrote in your post last week, or sorry, that was Janet, but I think she was inspired by your post. If you have flour and eggs and milk and you combine that together and you get a cake, and it's like, you can't undo that.
That's
So
right.
once you have this awareness and you're starting to get to know yourself, you can't go back.
Yeah, you can't unbake the cake.
You can't unbake the cake. And we're shifting your neuroplasticity in your mind when you're shifting the way you're looking at the world. And that's where the Love Your Vibe transformation and the mindset work, we practice that over Zoom in this forum here. And we can talk about these things. It's more of a, it's more of a language based, like we can talk about it and we can think about it. We can journal together. We can meditate together. But it's not the body work. So it's, but the more that I do the inner work, the more I do the mindset work, I bring that to my body work, and encourage everybody to, like, whether you're doing this with us, and hopefully this has been of value to our audience to help you think of yourself differently, that we really are a miracle.
Absolutely. And I think that one thing that stands above is this, because you have all of these specialized educations and skills, and you're practicing this deep inner work that you're doing with the miracle mindset, that helping to create a safe space for someone to have patience with themselves as they undo how they've been doing life is extra special. So I think what you've created is a very safe space, utilizing all kinds of professional tools to get your client the best value as they're moving forward with their own health. So I commend you for what you're doing, because it's a very brave space to move from the traditional RMT to opening up that area to bring all the things to your clients so they have access to many tools of discovery. So I think that's amazing. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, Aline. And I just want to make it clear to everybody here, like, as much as we've done the Love Your Vibe transformation, I've never actually met you in person. I've never given you a hug, much less a massage. But to sum up for our audience, like, RMT, and in my mind, is kind of like a box. It's like physical and only physical. And I have taken the leap of faith away from the box into the horizon of the holistic mental, emotional, spiritual work. And as I took that leap of faith, it was terrifying. And yet I am growing wings and being a better guide for my clients on their path to wellness. And I'm feeling so fulfilled. And I'm so grateful for your support emotionally and mentally, and your
Thank you.
social media support and your time here today, Ellen. I'm so grateful to you. You've been a wonderful friend and colleague, and wishing you all the best on your journey, because you're still exploring what the next steps are for you in your life.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Take care. This is Holistic Eleanor.
Bye
Embody, now. Empower, embody, and evolve. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.